Alright John, welcome to the next round of Club 100, which is round 8 at Ellough Park. Now, before we get into the racing for this one, I've got an apology to make. And that is because at the previous round at Landau, just before the final it rained. And my good friend Jake Hicklin, or should I say Jack Hickling, let me know exactly where the grip was, and that was why I was so quick at the start of the final. So I apologise for not shouting him out, and now we are going to move on into this round here at Ellough Park, starting second for the first heat, and we've been absolutely mugged off the first corner and we've dropped down to fourth. We're just stuck on the outside there, and to be honest, on this day there was a bit of an issue with the surface of the circuit as I tried to get back past Greg Smith there, but can't quite hold it. And I've actually got Mike Coppin on my inside now, and I tried to hold it around the outside, but that was absolutely impossible on those marbles. I almost went flying into the wall. So a pretty shocking start from second down to fifth. But the tarmac was absolutely, well, not enjoyable to drive on, to say the least, because they basically had some new corporate karts here and were testing them throughout the whole week from what I heard. So there was just way too much rubber down on the track, which meant that every single corner was just massive understeer, and I was struggling to adapt to it. And I knew from the practice session that I was going to be struggling because, you know, I was nowhere near the pace, and obviously these guys adapted a little bit better and maybe had the extra practice on the Saturday. But yeah, I was struggling, I will admit, and it wasn't a good experience for me. But as we lose a position to Ben Lambeth there, but yeah, it was really a day of damage limitation, really. Like I say, from the practice I knew that I was slow, and this just confirmed it even more. I was just dropping back from everybody. Like, Ben's already gapped me after a couple of corners, and you see there the understeer. Like, I just couldn't get it into the corner, and I was having to defend from somebody else there. And it's just, yeah, I'm just losing in every single corner. I was just going to skip to the end of this race because nothing else happened actually, and I just dropped back further and further, and I ended up coming 6th place, which is pretty bad from second on the grid. Like I say, I couldn't get the pace that those guys were doing. And moving into the second heat now, I was trying to improve and realise where I was losing the time, and I think throughout the day I did manage to do that. And yeah, we were trying to move back up the order as we dropped down to 6th in the championship after Landau. But anyway, moving into this second heat, we've absolutely thrown it round the outside at the first corner there into second, and that was an absolutely beautiful move. We're going to take back a replay, or a look at the replay, as Alpha Live were here this weekend, so we'll use them when we can. As you can see me throwing it around the outside of Stephen Westwood there, and just about getting my nose in front for the second corner. And yeah, it was that second corner that was causing most of the issue with the understeer. And that corner is actually quite fun normally, but I was really struggling with it in the current track conditions. It was just it just hardly ever turned into the corner. But anyway, getting on with this race, we've got second place at the moment, and we've got Callum Martin in front, and we're absolutely going to throw it down the inside like a prime Morgie Dubs on GT7, but it doesn't quite pull off there, and we're going to slot in behind. But we know that we have a little bit of a pace advantage at the moment because we caught him up fairly quickly, and we're catching him up again here at my least favourite corner on this day. And Callum understeers just like I was for most of the day, and we're going to try and go down the inside again, and this time we are going to get it done and into first place. And I'll be honest, I did not expect to be in the lead of the race after how the first race went. As we're going to take a look at the replay again. Got Sam Esri behind me, giving me a bit of help, and we're going to set it up coming out of turn 2 and just last minute dive down the inside, block him on the exit, and nothing he can do. Just slightly defensive to make sure no one cuts back, but into the lead. And like I say, I didn't really expect to be in the lead after how it went before, but we are here now, and it's all about trying to do consistent laps. And one thing I was slightly worried about here was Harrison Kirkham, because he was in this race and he seemed to have the track conditions with the extra rubber absolutely nailed, and he was flying. And I knew he would be catching me, so I was just trying my best to be as consistent as possible. Trying to get on the power as early as I could without washing out with the understeer. And I'm missing a couple of apexes here and there, but I feel like the minimum speed is being kept up fairly well. But Harrison was just on another planet on this day. So I was checking behind me every now and then to see if he was catching me. But at the moment we're doing okay. We're catching, or we're keeping, I should say, the lead. Obviously Harrison's got to get through a couple of people before he gets to me, as we're going to skip later on in the race. I'm still in the lead, but Harrison has caught us up, and we have a slight understeer moment there on the exit. Only a slightly, but it was enough for him to get a run, and he is going to go down the inside. I tried to slot back in, but just catch the back of his kart, so lose a bit of momentum. But he is past us, and to be honest, I probably could have gone defensive till the end, because there wasn't too long left, but I hadn't really noticed he'd got that much of a run on me. I knew that I had a bit of an understeer moment, but I didn't quite understand how good his exits were, so I didn't think I needed to cover it off, so that was a slight mistake on my part. But as I've mentioned, it was a bit of a weird day, this one. Not really like I've experienced before in karting, to be honest. Without how much rubber was down, it was just so much of a different driving style. As you can see, Harrison's getting away a little bit, and at this point I'm like, I'm probably not going to beat him now. I might as well just set up a second, because even second, to be fair, is better than how the first race went. I was actually thinking after the first race I might be looking at a B final here, because I just have absolutely no pace and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But you know, being in the top 2 made me realise maybe it's not as bad as I thought, and I have improved pace wise a little bit in this race. As you can see, Harrison, since the first few corners after he got past me, he's not completely dropped me, so maybe it's a little bit more promising than I first thought. And we're trying to just keep in his wheel tracks and see if he makes a mistake, but it's highly unlikely. And we have actually caught him back a little bit here, I think. And you'll see on the times when the race ends that actually I wasn't that far off him. I was the second quickest, but I was only about a tenth of a second off Harrison in this race, as he actually makes a bit of a mess of that corner, and I gained a little bit, but it's too late in the day now. This is the last lap, so we're going to come home in P2, which I will take, considering the lack of pace in the first race, and maybe that car was a little bit better, which helped. But yeah, unfortunately we couldn't hold on to the win in that one, but it's not too bad. Coming into heat number 3 now, we're starting in 9th place. We've got quite a few good drives in this one. As you can see, Sam Lovelace in front, and Rob Newman is just in front of him as well, so we're going to try and get on with it quickly. And there's actually a bit of a crash up the front, and it's sort of concertina's everyone, and I've actually gained a couple of places in the first corner because of that. And I'm trying to slip past, I think that's Callum Martin again, but not quite. And now we're alongside Rob Newman, as he's had a bit of a forced out moment, but he stays ahead. And I probably could have thrown it up his inside there, but I know it's Rob, so I'm kind of thinking let's follow him through the field. And he gets a massive slingshot, slightly hinders the guys there, and I just chuck it around the outside of both of them, and that was quite an enjoyable move to do. And it gains me a few places, as we'll take a replay of the start again. As I mentioned, there was a bit of a collision at the front which helped me out. You can see there it's actually Amy Breacher and Jeremy Deek coming together, and I slipped through on the inside, and plenty of battling going on as usual. And Amy Breacher then trying to get her lead back. I think that's what caused sort of all of the carts to come together and what enabled Rob to get the slingshot. And then, as you can see, he just forces them out wide, and I'm tuck underneath and throw it around the outside and take 5th place. And suddenly, after starting in 9th, I'm on the back of the lead train, so that was quite nice. And we switched back to my footage, and there's just carrying on with the battling, so I'm trying to get involved even more, and Sam's kind of boxed in there, so I can't go anywhere. And we know we want to go forward. We're hunting down to get the last points for the final, and I'm thinking here that my pace has definitely got better since the start of the day, because these guys probably would have dropped me by now, although they were battling, so maybe not. But anyway, Rob and Sam are still behind the 2 Class 2 guys in front, so that's not too bad for me. Although Stephen Westford is absolutely flying, to be fair to him, as Rob goes for a move on Amy Breacher, and Sam can't follow through, so now he's a bit vulnerable to me and goes defensive, but holds it well, and he actually clips the curb there, so I get a chance at a move, but he's still got a little bit of an advantage. Manages to squeeze me enough so that I'm in a position that if I squeeze him, I'm going to put him in the wall, so that wouldn't be nice. But that actually hindered me enough for Andrew Ward to get the run, and he got me into turn 1 instead, so that didn't go exactly to plan. But Andrew Ward was absolutely flying on this day, to be fair. I think he got the fastest lap in this race, so that was probably going to happen at some point anyway. But yeah, this day it just sort of threw up a lot of surprises, like some people who are normally quick weren't, and some people who sometimes in the mid-pack seem to adapt really well to the track conditions and got up the front. So I suppose for the neutral it was a very interesting day, but for me I didn't quite get along with the way the track was handling. And it was one of those where I was just trying to get through the day, to be honest. But anyway, let's see what else we can do in this race as we skip forward. Still in P6, as we just can't latch on to the guys in front. But Andrew Ward makes a move on Amy Breacher, which slows her down, so that gives me a chance, and I'm going to take that opportunity because I know they're not going to come very often on this day. So I had to be brutal with my overtakes, and we do get the move done into P5. And Amy was actually quicker than me in this race, so I had a bit of a job holding her back. But I did manage to just about do that, and cutting on to the last few corners of the race here, Stephen Westwood's going defensive from Andrew for 3rd, but unfortunately not enough for us to capitalise, so we are going to finish the race in P5. And that is all we could manage there. I think we were only a few tenths off in that one, but still the pace is a little bit inconsistent on this day. But we did manage to get to the A final despite my worries. And in this A final, I've got to mention a couple of things before we start. First of all, you obviously get a 3-lap warm-up for your kart to see if it's good enough, and I didn't think mine was good enough, so I came into the pits to change my kart. And a couple of things to note from that. Firstly, I had a few guys helping me move all of my stuff to the next cart, which I appreciate greatly, but unfortunately one of the guys that was helping put my camera on the wrong way round, so I had to get back out to change it again, but I didn't think I had enough time to put it on again because it's a bit of a fiddly process, so I sort of just took it off and gave it to one of my mates. So my camera is not on for this race, unfortunately, which, to be fair, as you'll see, I'm not that bothered about, to be honest. But it was unfortunate that we missed the start of this race because it actually went quite well to start with. And the reason for that is, I think, because I changed carts and had a whole lap to warm my tyres up while everyone else was going about 5 miles an hour waiting for me. So essentially, I think I went into these first few laps with warm tyres while everyone else had sort of average amount of heat in it. So as you'll see here, I'm starting from P12 after my fairly average heat positions, and Rob Newman leads us away into the first corner, and I am getting stuck in straight away and trying to throw it up the inside of somebody there after going around the outside of turn 1, so I've really got stuck in here, and we're just behind Steph Theodoru. I think we must have made up a couple of places, like maybe we're 9th or 10th now, and Adam Britton gets a bit washed out there by Steph, and we actually did manage to chuck it round his outside. You can just see in the back of the shot there as I think Harrison Kirkham is about to take the lead as well, so that's making the battle interesting up front. And also, you can't quite see because I'm just out of the shot, but I do chuck it down the inside of Steph into the last corner. So a really good opening lap for me there. Started 12th, and as you can see on the timing, I've made up to 7th. 5 places gained on the first lap, and you can just see me there in the start of the second group. Bit of work to do to catch up to the front 6. But I'm already thinking, well, that was a way better start than I was expecting on the outside in the mid-pack. I was expecting to be sent off into the barrier or something. But we have had a really good start, and the front 6 are not done fighting with each other. Obviously, Harrison, a C2, amazing job at the front of the field, but that is causing everybody to want to get past him. And actually, everybody is all sort of tripping over each other a little bit, and you can see I've closed the gap at least halfway there, and I actually set the fastest lap of the race at this point. And like I mentioned, a combination of the battling from the guys in front and also the fact that I had warm tyres from changing the cart has really brought me into this race. Fastest lap early on, and we've almost caught to the back of Andrew Ward, and you can see how much everyone's sort of getting really close together. And although they're not actually going side by side, you don't want to be that close to this many carts because you can't really judge your braking point because everyone else is right in front of you. As Rob Newman gets a bit of understeer there, and he's got Ed Bars all over him. And Sam Lovelace tries to go around the outside of both of them, and he has got Ed, and he's also going to chuck it down the inside of Rob. And look how much battling this is causing. Dante's getting involved as well, and Andrew Ward tries to go around the outside and gives a gap for me, and I get into P6 from that, and now I'm right on the back of the train for second place as Harrison's cleared off after all this battling. And now I'm thinking, wow, how have I got in this position? After how this day's gone, I've suddenly got a shout of a podium. And I couldn't believe the start of this race, as Dante's now going to go for it on Rob, and Ed's going to try and follow through, but he can't quite do it. And this is amazing for me. I'm loving this. It's keeping me involved as Rob tries to get back on Dante, but can't, and they're just holding each other up more and more. And now I am right on the back of Ed Bars, the 2-time champion here. And I'm thinking, do I go for a move here or not? I'm not sure what I wanted. I couldn't really make my mind up, and I definitely had a run into the last corner, but I decided to not go for it just because it was early on in the race, and I don't want to go for a move that doesn't pay off and then lose to that massive train that's behind me, as you can see. So I was thinking, right, I'll give Ed a lap to go for it, and if I'm quicker than him, I'm going to get past him. But I did lose a little bit of time. I think I might have clipped the back of him and lost momentum, so I'm actually having to go defensive from Steph now, as you could just see there. And we have lost a bit of time to Ed, and in hindsight that was probably what made this race go downhill a little bit, because now we've lost the gap and Steph's thinking he's quicker than me, and he has gone for it into that corner at the back of the shot, and Andrew Ward's now going to get past as well, as Harrison's having to go defensive from Sam for the lead. But that was where it started to go wrong, and this race, to be honest, the car, as everyone's sort of evened out with how warm the tyres were, I realised that this car had so much understeer, it was actually unbearable. I know that the track conditions weren't great, but yeah, it just didn't work with the track conditions of this car, and I was just going backwards and backwards. After that amazing start, I just couldn't get anywhere. Sam Lovelace won the race as we skipped to the end, but I actually lost out multiple places on the last lap just because I was struggling to get around, and dropped down to 12th, and that is where I finished, and it was quite disappointing considering right at the start of the race I actually thought I could have got on the podium. But yeah, it was definitely a day to forget, this one. I couldn't get used to the way the track conditions were. Fair play to the guys that adapted, but I needed the next round to come quickly so I could get over it, really. And the next round did come in a couple of weeks, thankfully, and it was Wilton Mill, the Zulus layout. So that video will be coming out soon. Thank you guys for watching this one, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.